Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nuganomics with David Tulis. We argue for loving your neighbor and buying local. Our theme here at Nuganomics.com, the website for the man who matters, and here on the David Tulis program, is that we love our neighbors and we buy local, and that near is better than far, small is better than big, and simple than complex. Now, if you're an attorney or you're filing your own case, make sure that your arguments are in threes at the most, 3 points, and have your ancillary points divide out as supporting the main three. And in the footnotes, we have them too. We would have the following in 5-point type, very small type. Personal is better than corporate, and physical is better than abstract. And my goal here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio is to help you, my listener, take heart, to think about things you can do on your own without getting permission from anybody, that you can, in many ways, be a free man. You can live the life of a natural person, a natural human being, apart from your corporate status. You don't have to live the life of your avatar, which we all have. We all have avatars, and these either more or less control who we are and what we do, how we spend our money, how we save our money, where we send our children for their education, and the like. I have on the phone a man I'd like you to hear a little bit about. His name is John Harris. He is an attorney in Nashville and has been a volunteer, not being paid, a volunteer for the Tennessee Firearms Association for 2 decades. He's not paid, and he has a full-time law practice. His name is John Harris, and the TFA has, as the newspaper will tell you, a perennial project. And that perennial project is to have a measure to get out of committee in the General Assembly, and it's called for short constitutional carry. John, what is constitutional carry, and why should my listener care about it, and what has happened to that measure this week?
Constitutional carry is a generic term for the concept that because the right to own firearms is a fundamental human right according to the U.S. Supreme Court that is neither created by nor subject to regulation by government entities, that you should not be required to pass a test, pay a fee, or undergo a background check to exercise that right any more than you should have to pay a fee or pass a test to exercise the right to vote. Now, significantly, there are as many as 11 states, including Vermont, that's had this for over 2 centuries, that already have constitutional carry. West Virginia just enacted it last week. Kansas and Maine enacted it last year. And on top of that, we have about 29 states that have a version of constitutional carry called permitless open carry. And every state that touches Tennessee, except for Georgia, already has that version of the law. So Tennessee is really pretty far behind all the other states, and certainly behind all the southern states, in allowing the free exercise of Second Amendment rights for law-abiding citizens. And that's why we think it's important in the Tennessee Firearms Association to get Tennessee up out of the muck of regulatory quagmires and enact constitutional carry so that our citizens don't have to come off their hip with dollars and fees and checks to exercise the right to defend themselves.
You're saying, John Harris, that the Tennessee citizen today has to abase himself and humiliate himself before the regulatory state to exercise not a right anymore, but a privilege.
Well, yeah. They not only is it a privilege, Tennessee actually classifies the handgun permit as a recreational license, and they do that so that they can revoke it if someone, for example, is behind on their child support payments. So they don't even classify it even as a privilege. They classify it as a recreational opportunity.
Well, is that less than a privilege, a recreational opportunity, or more?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right. So what happened this week in Nashville, John Harris?
This year, as in a few prior years, we had a bill running by Senator Mark Green from the Clarksville area and Representative Judd Matheny that would have implemented, by changing a handful of laws, the doctrine of constitutional carry in Tennessee. Now, we already passed the small version of that in 2014 so that you don't have to have a permit now to transport loaded firearms, rifles, shotguns, and pistols in a personal vehicle. So we've had it for about a year and a half in terms of transport. This law would have allowed you to then get out of your car and carry the gun in your pocket. And that's what was up this year. I mean, this week, constitutional carry. And it was up in the Senate Judiciary on Tuesday. And going into that Senate Judiciary hearing, we understood that we had a 6-3 vote. There are 9 members on the committee. One of those votes that was reported to us by the Senate sponsor, Mark Green, was Senator Todd Gardenhire. He had been classified as a yes vote on the bill. And there was quite a bit of surprise when the roll call was taken on the bill that Senator Gardenhire didn't even have the wherewithal to vote yes or no on the bill. He voted pass. And it raises the question, are his constituents electing a public steward or a public spectator? Because anybody can go up there and watch and not cast a vote. Senators, however, have taken an oath to go be a public representative. It's what he wanted to do. But he's up there just being a spectator, it appears.
Well, all right. So what was the effect of Senator Gardenhire's twiddling his thumbs in that meeting?
Well, he had, it was a 4 to 1 vote, and he was the one abstaining vote. Had he voted yes, as he was expected to vote, this bill would have passed out of committee and would have proceeded on towards the Senate floor this week. He single-handedly managed to stop all citizens of the state from having their elected officials debate whether or not we should adopt constitutional carry on the Senate floor. He has effectively, by failing to even cast a vote, disenfranchised all of the citizens who have elected senators in any other part of the state, because now their elected officials don't even get a voice on this.
Well, John Harris of the Tennessee Firearms Association, what reasons do you know of that Todd Gardenhire give for abstaining from voting?
To my knowledge, he has not given any publicly at this point. Even the news report that I saw in the Times Free Press recently just indicates that he denies that he told Senator Green that he was going to vote yes for the bill. He doesn't give any reason why he would oppose or feel that, as I read his reports, that constitutional carry is inappropriate. At the same time, he makes the declaration, which I think is patently unfounded, that he's a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. I mean, what he says can't be reconciled with his voting record.
Well, I had a brief interview, John Harris, yesterday with Todd Gardenhire, the senator who killed constitutional carry, and he said that he checked his notes as to how to answer my question. I caught him just as he was going into a meeting, and he was trying to gulp down a bowl of cereal. He said later in a text. But the reasons he didn't want to vote no, because that would have offended people who support the right to bear arms. That was point one. And then the 2 reasons he offered to my listener was that he didn't vote yes because A, the measure did not account for people who are in or who were in drug treatment programs, and then B, the measure seemed to have nothing to say regarding those who are under an order of separation or order of protection. In other words, a man or a woman involved in a domestic dispute of some kind that has reached the public's notice or the judge's notice, and there has been an issuance of an order of separation. Those were the 2 reasons he gave to me as to why your proposed measure from the Tennessee Firearms Association didn't fly in his mind. Can you address those points?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, his first argument that he didn't want to offend people who believe strongly in this. Come on. I mean, that begs the credibility, because what difference does it make if you vote no and kill the bill from going forward, or if you're standing there as a spectator as opposed to a steward and fail to vote at all? Either way, you've effectively killed the bill moving forward, and he knew what he was doing. Now, the bill, I mean, his other 2 excuses are just totally misplaced. The bill specifically says, usually almost the identical language from 2014, that in order for you to be able to carry a gun under this concept of constitutional carry, that you would have to legally possess the firearm, and that you must be legally able to possess the firearm, in addition to being age 21. which means that someone under state or federal law that can't possess a gun, therefore can't carry it. Now, my understanding is that people under orders of protection, which have a specific provision in them about whether or not they can possess a firearm, would fall outside of this
definition
Senator Green was running automatically. You don't need to put duplicative language in every bill if other laws already address the issue. And what this emphasizes is that Senator Gardenhire may not, as an elected official, understand the framework within which he is working, and that is how other laws impact this. Now, I think that can be highlighted by any of your listeners who watched the video. Senator Gardenhire never asked a question, never raised a point, never offered an amendment on any of these issues that he's offering up now.
What about the second point regarding those who are in drug or he didn't say alcohol, I think he said drug treatment. What about that question?
Yeah. Under federal and state law, if you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, you're a prohibited person. So they could not carry legally the firearm under this law because of the existing, and I mean dating back to like 1968, statutory prohibitions on people who are addicted to alcohol or drugs being able to carry firearms. That's already illegal.
So the Tennessee Code annotated, which the implication in the non-voting by Senator Gardenhire is that the code doesn't address the questions he raised, and therefore he won't vote because these questions are not explicitly mentioned in the measure that you've drafted and revised for several years and presented.
I think he's just blowing smoke right now because he didn't bring that up with the sponsor. He didn't bring it up with us. And he certainly never raised it during the discussion or the debate on this bill in the Senate this week.
In what way? Well, what have you heard John Harris of the Tennessee Firearms Association regarding the governor's complicity, the governor's agreement with the sort of pro-state perspective of Todd Gardenhire? What has the governor said about this bill?
The governor, keep in mind, when he campaigned to be governor the first time back in 2010, he promised that he would sign constitutional carry into law in Tennessee if elected governor. You can see that video if you go to the Tennessee Firearms Association website, TennesseeFirearms.com, and then you just do a /Haslam, Haslam. And you can see the video where he makes the promise, I'll support it. Now, what the governor has done since he came into office, he has, by manipulating the Department of Safety, responses to bills, he has made every effort possible to kill any bill that would have relaxed laws prohibiting people from carrying firearms, and in particular, laws like this that have an atmosphere of constitutional carry. So he made a promise to get elected, and he has done everything in his power to see to it that those types of laws never reach his desk.
So now there's a quote. I don't think I have it. I don't have it in front of me from Governor Haslam reported this week, in which he said effectively, John Harris of the Tennessee Firearms Association, that he didn't support constitutional carry because, look, we have a Department of Safety and Homeland Security program that has 550,000 concealed carry gun permit holders already. They've been doing fine work in that department, which of course is his department. And I really don't see disturbing that. What is that telling my listener, John Harris?
Well, it tells your listener several things if they know the additional facts. First off, this bill would not have changed the handgun permitting system. We don't want to get rid of it, although we want to reduce the cost, because it's important to have the handgun permits available for reciprocity purposes. But the more fundamental question is,
what does that mean?
For someone who wants to go get a handgun permit in Tennessee, between the cost of the application and taking the class and buying the ammunition that you have to have in the class to range qualify, someone's going to spend about $200 and as much as $300, depending on which class they take, to go get the permit. Now, should we be charging people those kinds of expenses to exercise a fundamental, constitutionally protected right? Now, the other thing the governor doesn't tell people is that they have been gouging citizens on this permit fee for 2 decades. We recently obtained records from the Tennessee Department of Safety that shows between 2008 and 2014 that the Department of Safety collected over $52 million from people in handgun permit application fees. However, during that same time, it only cost them $35 million to run the program, which has a staff of, I think, 71 people at present. That means they've overcharged the citizens of the state by at least $17 million, and they have appropriated those funds out of the handgun permit division and have applied them to the general fund rather than making any effort to reduce the fee.
So Gardenhire and Haslam are defenders, effectively, of the administrative state. They're defenders of a system of administration that is pretended to cover everybody. The Department of Safety and Homeland Security gun permitting system says you don't have a right to carry. That this system exists because the constitutional provision on the right to bear arms gives the legislature the authority to regulate the wearing of arms. And so under that provision of the Constitution, this administrative system is created, effectively regulating all weapons and all ownership of weapons. Are guns, are firearms, John Harris, banned in Tennessee? If they are, explain how that works.
Yeah, as a matter of law, the way the current criminal code is written, Tennessee law prohibits citizens from owning and possessing firearms, and everything is written from the perspective of it's defense to the crime of owning and possessing a firearm. If you own your property, if you own it at your residence, if you own it at your business, if you're using it to hunt or engage in other lawful activity, or if you have a handgun permit. So everything's a defense to a fundamental criminal charge, and that's just wrong.
So
our system should say citizens have a right to carry arms, to wear arms, and to defend themselves, and it's a crime to abuse that by using them to commit another crime.
So your proposed remedy, John Harris, is remedial. It's not really comprehensive. In a way, it's not really substantive. It doesn't go to the heart of the problem to overturn the presumption, or does it?
Well, now, we have a separate bill that Senator Beavers and Representative Rick Womack are carrying that would fully restore the constitutional framework to the way it should be. The Green-Matheny bill was a step in that direction to let people try to get more comfortable with it. But we do have legislation pending, and my expectation, based upon what the governor's done and what Senator Gardenhire's done, is that it doesn't have any chance of passage either, because they believe in a type of government where the rights of citizens are regulated to the point that there's nothing more than mere privileges.
Tell my listener, just in a nutshell, John Harris, what the Uniform Law Commission is and how it has effectively brought administrative control of state government. What does that group do, and how has it damaged the interests of my listeners?
It's one of several types of commissions or bodies that has as their mission, sort of like what has happened with Common Core. They want to standardize across state lines from the administration's perspective what the legislatures are enacting as law. And so it's a statist type perspective. They have very little regard for constitutional frameworks. What they seek to do, in my experience, is to draft model legislation. That's what you'll typically hear, that is suggested then to legislators in state bodies with the sort of suggestion that these model laws have been written by experts and that they should be adopted uniformly across state lines by multiple jurisdictions for consistency. Well, if that's the case, why don't we just get rid of all the states and let the federal government do it all?
Right. So the Uniform Law Commission is staffed all by volunteers only. They're all volunteers, but they have to be members of the bar. So effectively what we have are members of the bar, like yourself, John Harris, who are engaged in writing laws that have a state perspective. They have a state hegemony perspective. The state is first, and the people are simply individual sort of troubling bodies that have to be managed. And if we have the best sort of statutory framework and the regulatory framework that flow from those, we will have a peaceful and well-ordered and efficient state.
Right. That's exactly what Hitler said back in the 1930s. These types of commissions view citizens as livestock, not citizens.
Well, listen, John Harris, thank you so much for joining us. Tell my listener how to find out more about you. Give the website a couple times, would you please?
Absolutely. They can reach the Tennessee Firearms Association at our main website, Tennessee Firearms. It's all spelled out, no abbreviations, .com. Again, that's TennesseeFirearms.com. They can also find us on Facebook. We have an extremely active Facebook presence. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. And the group, we set it up separately so that people can join the group and they can actually engage in conversation and discussion, whereas we really don't allow that on the Facebook page. But that they can find the Tennessee Firearms Association on Facebook as well as on our website. And they can subscribe to our free email alert system. So we send out every Friday legislative updates on which laws are moving forward and which bills like this constitutional carry have been trampled in a committee.
Right. John Harris, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you much. Bye-bye.
John Harris is the executive director of the Tennessee Firearms Association. That's TennesseeFirearms.org, I think maybe .com. This is David Tulis. I've got some important things for you to hear. Hang on.